everything paranormal. Para-X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron on the Para-X Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And yes, here I am, and merry meet everybody, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Dinah Roseberry is back with us tonight because she's been working on a new, interesting project, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's up and running. Dinah's been writing about the imagined world for about not her whole life, but close enough. I was going to make you really old, Dinah. But you know, she dabbles in the paranormal, romantic intrigue, sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and all kinds of speculative fiction. And she's also a practicing certified hypnotist, and her practice is centering on past life regressions, which is really neat, and we're going to have to talk to you about that sometime, and other paranormal topics. You read tarot cards. She reads very, very varied oracles. Jeez, my tongue is not working today. And she's created tarot decks as well, and finds that divination brings sharp interpretation to daily living, and she uses it as a method in her writing. Now, if anybody in the chat room has a question or a comment for her, fire away. If you're not in the chat room and you want to be, come over to paraxradionetwork.com. All right, Dinah. Now, before we get started, I want to mention that during the second half of the show, and you know this, but I'll tell everybody, we're going to be talking about coping mechanisms, and she's going to be doing a simple guided visualization to kind of help us find a happy place, because there are people that aren't really happy around this time of year for whatever reason. It's not always full of Christmas cheer, but we'll get back to that in a bit. And meanwhile, was I right? Is the new project up and running?
Yes, it is. It was put up today, and it is an audio blog that I decided to put together that has some short and flash fiction. It's going to be audio and also written. There's tips and reviews and interviews and anything related to horror, paranormal, sci-fi, fantasy, but short stuff. Not the big, long books, although we might do some excerpts and things like that. People can read it or listen. I'm going to have a story every week that's a short flash piece, or some people might want to submit some of their work so that they can be known.
Yeah, I know, because the last time we were talking about flash paranormal fiction, which is like short fiction. So these are going to be like short vlogs. Everybody's doing vlogs now, so you can't say blog. Yeah. But
yeah, there's the reason I'm not doing the other, because I can't say it. No, not really. But I decided, I thought, ever since I've been involved with publishing and that kind of thing, there's so many people that have a voice and that want to have their voice heard. There's not an awful lot of money sometimes in doing publishing, and sometimes it's so aggravating to people that they just give up. So I thought, let's do something for the people. And at the same time, it's therapeutic for me, and we're going to, like you said, we're going to talk about a little bit of that later. And we can give a heads up for different things that people who are involved can go to find good books to read or good stories to read, interviews from different authors or any kind of people, not necessarily authors, but people who have an interest in something in the paranormal world.
Mm-hmm. And, in case people don't know, and we can talk about this now, she was my editor for like 5 books and one oracle deck, and lived to tell the tale. But, and she's still working at Schiffer doing that stuff. So, a lot of people wonder how do they get published, or how do they even begin to start? And we were going to talk a little bit about that later, but why don't we just talk about that now? Because, people keep asking, and there are people say, oh my God, people, how do they do that? I don't know. I'm a first timer. I don't know exactly how to do anything about this, but I have a book and I want to write. And if you get a hold of Dinah, it's all about the paranormal field, right? And metaphysical stuff.
It is. And I have retired, but I'm working with Schiffer Publishing still, on a book-by-book project in the paranormal. But the paranormal that I work with for Schiffer is all nonfiction. That is truth, the things that people really see. For example, we have Preston Dennett, who is a big person in the UFO, and somebody named Marla Brooks. You probably won't know who she is.
Nah.
But yeah, Marla was one of my first authors, and we had a blast in the beginning, and I learned a great deal of what could happen in the paranormal if you're not careful. And right in my own office with some things that happened with her projects. But yes, if people are interested in submitting proposals, that's the first thing that you have to do if you're going for a traditional. Now, for my blog, you don't have to do that. I'll tell you right now, I'm not looking for anything that's super gory, super sexual, the outrageous stuff that will freak people out. I'm looking for light and airy, just kind of fun for somebody to read or listen to, or just enjoy, as opposed to some of the more hardcore stuff. So you'll have to look elsewhere to put that kind of thing up. And it's going to be short, somewhere, if you're looking to submit for the actual blog, you're going to be looking at maybe 500 words, up to 1,000 words, not much more than that. Flash fiction can get a little bit longer if you want. I mean, we can do anything we want, because this is my first episode that's up there now. And it's on my website at roseberrybooks.com /blog. And you'll be able to hear the first episode, which is a story called Santa Baby. Thought that Christmas would be a good time to have a Christmas horror story. So we can pretty much do whatever we want, but let's keep it light and airy. As far as Schiffer, that's a more traditional company. Again, like I said, it's nonfiction. If you go on their website, schifferbooks.com, you'll see a place that tells the kind of information you need to submit to begin with. So it's a much more detailed kind of thing that you have to go through before you can actually see some results for that. But they are interested, so you might want to take a look at that, as long as you know that it's not fiction.
Well, somebody can start with you to get, cut their teeth on it, and then, take the next step, huh?
Yes. And the first thing I'm going to tell them is to fill out that paperwork that is required. And then you can just talk to figure out where to go from there.
And it's just kind of good because, when you go on somebody's website, I mean, people from all over the world can find the stuff that you write. So it's not like you're just writing for Dinah or, 3 people. You're going to get whatever you write out there. And that's the main thing.
Right. And to understand, too, that when you're growing a site, writing for 2 or 3 people or even yourself is something that is valuable. You start out and you move towards what your goals are in the field. But you got to love this stuff. You can't just say, aha, there's someplace I can get my work out. I write romance. Unless there's horror in it, no. So you want to make sure you are looking at the appropriate audience for what it is that you write, because you won't be successful unless you do.
Yeah, in general, yeah.
Yeah.
It's because, like with all publishers, not all nonfiction publishers will take any kind. They have certain things that they want, so yeah, you got to be kind of concise and know where you're going. That's why, what was that book that, oh my God, I forgot now, but I got one every year, and it was the book of publishers all over the world, or not over the world, but all over the United States. And
The Writer's Digest book?
yeah, that thing. And, you open it up and you flip over to whatever, and they'll tell you exactly what they want, or what they don't want. And, that's a good way, just in general, if you want to be an author and stuff, to just know some of the basic things.
Right.
And, yeah, but to start, I wish you had done that before I started working and writing for, publishing, because that would have been kind of a neat thing to figure out what to do, what not to do, and stuff. And, so what about if people say, well, I don't know how to write too well, or, I might not do it right. Of course,
yeah.
Yeah.
The thing with that, you've got a two-parter there. The thing about not writing well, you've got to remember, it's like going to college. You have to put in the work to be able to write well. You can't just sit down and say, I'm going to write a book. You've got to know how to use the grammar. You have to understand commas and colons and what a full sentence is and all these different things that involve the written word. You have to do that yourself, just like you were going to school. It's not the publisher's job. It's not the editor's job. It's your job to write your book and to write it well. And then the other side of it that you mentioned is that each publishing company does have different submission guidelines. Schiffer Publishing has a book building guide that is offered to authors to help them once they receive a contract. And if you follow the book building guide, you're going to do okay. But if you don't, you cause trouble for everybody. So, because this is what we at that particular company do to move our projects through the different processes. We follow this. More and more, we've had to put things in there about things like usage of commas and usage of the different wording and that kind of thing, because people sometimes don't want to bother. They say, well, I don't want to do it. I just want to write my book and you fix it. Mm-hmm. And that's just not the way it is in the world today. Or has it ever been, as far as I know?
No, but by the same token, we do our best as writers. Yeah. But we every so often you miss something. And
absolutely.
So you're going to pick that up. You're not going to let something go through. But, because...
Right, you can get this through a lot of different stages. You send it in as best as you possibly can. And then we have developmental editors that go through and look for consistencies and to make sure that the husband's name on page 5 didn't change on page 25. But these things happen and they just happen. It's not anybody's fault. It's just that your brain doesn't always see that when you're writing. It's very, very difficult to send in a book that doesn't have any mistakes in it, but you just do the best you can. But we have developmental, then it goes into production. It has a production editor. We have copy editors. There are a lot of different stages that books go through before they hit that printer. So it's very detailed. It's a big job, and there's a lot of people involved when you're looking at traditional publishing. When you're looking at something like blogs and audio blogs and blogs, as you were saying, it's a little less formal in that, it's the internet. Well, it's just the way people anybody has a blog these days, and anybody can do any of these things. It's a little bit different than having a hard book in your hand or an ebook or something like that. Yeah. So there are lines to be drawn all over the place.
Yeah, but like I said, it's a good place to start with you and your website because you know it's you have to start somewhere, and if you jump in, like a prime example, when I decided to write a reference book. Because I thought, well, I've done, nonfiction and blah, blah. That almost killed me because that was a publisher that was doing those kinds of books, only those kinds of books. And they were tough. They were absolutely tough.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I sweated the whole time I wrote the book and it was crazy. And so, I mean, I did it because I thought I needed to, get out of my comfort zone and do it. But, I mean, it was just, it was ridiculously bad and hard. But I did it and I learned from it. So, you kind of start learning for a blog, because everybody can do their own blog. That's right. But not everybody can get an audience to read it. So going on to your website and your blog, that's a whole different story. There's a whole bunch of people out there that are going to read it, and people that you don't know, and you kind of get a following. So when people, I guess people can comment on it when they read it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a place. It's just like a regular blog. There's a place for comments and that kind of thing. But most of the blog is done audio instead of just in written format. For fiction, having some audio gives a little personality to the stories sometimes, which makes it fun.
Yeah.
And frankly, I wanted to do something fun. Now, our particular brand of nonfiction books for the paranormal at Schiffer, they have both, like some fun kinds of books where it's written in the author's voice and a very comfortable style, and then they have some scientific type investigations and that kind of thing that's written in an entirely different style. So you have to look at the author's styles as well to see what fits. But on the blog, we can do anything we want. So we want to put the best things out there for the best people so that they can get A, their experience, B, have some fun, and maybe get some of their own work out there. And I'd like people to read what I write too.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
All right. So when we talked the other day, I scribbled down notes of what we were going to talk about in general, and some things I think you need to unscrabble for me. Because like the first thing I wrote was UFO there. And I'm assuming that's partly to do with your moving from Pennsylvania to North Carolina. And, I know you're writing about that. So what's the story behind that?
Actually, it's South Carolina.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Anybody who has known me for the past several years knows that I started out interested in the paranormal, and all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, I turned alien, and everything about me is alien these days. I'm obsessed with the whole topic. I think there's a reason behind that. We've done some talking about that too. When the paranormal is involved, you never know because you can't always actually see what's going on. Now, when I first came down here, I hadn't retired yet, and it was right before the COVID thing hit. And all of a sudden, I knew that there were going to be medical issues that were going to plague me in a variety of ways. And it came upon me in my meditations, all in my visualizations, everywhere, that this was going to be sooner than later, and I needed to get out of Dodge so that I could afford to live, so to speak. And that, and the fact that I could not stand shoveling snow, I had my wonderful boss, Pete Schiffer, had to come over and dig me out one year. And it was embarrassing as anything, but he came over and dug me out so I could even go to work. But anyway, there was something alien about my move and the things that I was seeing before I came down here. And when we came down here, we chose a place that had this beautiful sky totally open to us, so that we could, I knew I needed to have that. I had to have an open sky. I don't know why. I mean, yes, I was interested in UFOs, but you can see them anywhere and everywhere if they want you to see them. And for some reason, I felt I needed this place that had this open air type place. And don't you know it, within the first 2 months that I was down here, we started seeing UFOs. Only saw them a couple times, but the impact was, it was just really an interesting kind of impact. And do you want me to tell you what I saw, or do we need to even go there?
Yeah, because I'm not sure I know.
Oh, yeah, you do. We talked, because when I did see it, I ran to my computer right away, because sometimes they make you forget immediately. And so I ran to the computer and messaged a couple different people that I trusted and told them what I saw in case I would need that backup later on. And what I saw was this. My husband and I were outside. We were looking up at the sky. It was a warm night, but a comfortable night, clear as a bell. You could see like every star in the sky. And it was very dark where I live, very, very dark. And there was nothing that would hide something up in the sky. So we started to see these like 3, 4, and 5 lights kind of do a semicircle turn way, way, way up in the sky, and then just disappear. And both of us saw it at the same time. And then within minutes, we saw 3 craft. One flew over our house, one was flying away from our house, and another one was flying out towards, I think that there's a military base not far from where we are. And it was the triangular craft with the lights in the back, and they were low to the ground to the point where we could see them so clearly. And they were going very slowly, and as though they were searching. The first thing that came into my mind, these are government, because I can hear them. And knowing that I'm supposed to have a telephone or a camera or something like that with me when I see these kinds of things, it was like not in my head at all. Neither of us. We just watched them and wondered where they were going, what they were doing. They were just kind of milling around, and then they just, within 10 minutes, it was like nothing ever happened. Right after they left, I said, that couldn't have been UFOs, because we could hear the engines. And my husband says, I don't know. I think they were UFOs. Hearing engines or not, they look like what we've seen on like the Ancient Aliens television program, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I went around and I told everybody about this. You know, I saw this right away. And, you know, most people think I'm a nut, so they don't believe in aliens, and they don't think, you know, even with all the hubbub now that they're real and they were seen off the coast of California looking at the Nimitz, and they've got all that proof they have now. These people still look at me like I'm a nutcase a lot of times with this. So shortly after that, my husband became very ill, and we were talking about this again, and we talked about it because we couldn't explain what we were seeing. So you just keep talking and thinking about it in case maybe you just didn't come across the right thought at the time. And then one day when I brought it up, my husband said, "I have no clue what you're talking about." And he totally had forgotten it.
Wow.
I remember it clearly. I can picture it in my mind right now. Now, that's the second time that that's happened to me in my lifetime, where I've been with somebody who has seen what I saw, acknowledged it, and then sometime later forgot it. And that was very difficult for me to understand. Now, bringing all that back to my blog is that, well, my husband finally this year died, and one of my coping mechanisms was writing. So I wrote a story called Casting Down Aliens about that. I mean, it was fictional. It's fictional what I wrote, but
based on reality.
Yeah, it was based on, a little bit of reality and about what people were thinking of me at the time, and why they might not believe me. So it was just a short little 500-word thing, but it was helpful to me. So it was very strange that this happened. And now that I'm not with my husband because he's on the other side, I don't sit outside at night anymore like that. I don't know if it's in fear of what might occur, what I might see, but there's nobody to share it with here. And that's disturbing to me. So I have kind of pulled myself into this bubble of audio blogging to dispel some of that horror that's in my actual life. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and you were talking about some of the writing being kind of dark writing in that sense.
Yeah. It's I tend to write that dark, but at the same time, I tend to throw in some light at it because I do sometimes see the funniness that is my life. I can tell stories of things that happened to me back in Pennsylvania when I was working in the offices at Schiffer that are related to UFOs and some of the things that happened. And there was a light side to some of this, and some of the things that happened up there were just out and outlandish, and I had people with me. It wasn't just me who saw these things and who wrote them down and wrote about them because they were authors. So, I had authors and someone from our warehouse management, and we saw some things and heard some things. That's another topic, I guess, for another show. But
but just to mention that Schiffer Publishing is not in a big city. It's
right.
in the beautiful place in the country, kind of, right?
Yes, it's very. It's close enough not to be totally remote, but it's on a farm. We call it the book farm. And so when you go out there at nighttime, it's just like it is here. It's dark. And when you don't have the lights on, it's dark. And you can see every single dot in the sky. And they have a pond out back on their property. And the night that we all had the sighting there, a fog came in on this pond, and just a very, very strange, creepy kind of thing.
What's his name? Stephen King, kind of.
Yeah. And it was very creepy, but at the same time it was exhilarating because I had somebody with me that could see just as I was seeing, and B, I was able to see it. I was getting the opportunity to see behind the curtain.
Yeah, no, that's very cool.
And this is a lot of stuff to write about. You have all these things happen to you. And you never run out of things to write about in the fictional world.
Right. And like over there, they had animals too. It wasn't just, green grass and trees, right?
Right. Well, they had animals that sometimes there were cows, sometimes there were horses. They had a couple dogs. Some. At the house at the office they were an animal friendly office, but that was during the day. Usually they weren't disturbed like you normally hear that they are. So I never had an experience like that with the dogs. I had animal communication things going on with the dogs, which were pretty funny, but not the UFO stuff.
Okay. All right, let's take a break. Yeah, it's halfway through. So everybody stay put, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
There's more Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks right after these important messages.
Hi, it's Tori DeVito. In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. Like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic. Your honesty about that part of your life gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted to uphold in my own life.
I wanted you to know from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs. I said it a lot, and I'm glad you took it to heart.
Talk, they hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Demons, vampires, werewolves, skinwalkers, all of this and more, Sunday nights at midnight on the Staring Into the Abyss radio show. Come, get lost with us.
Hi, this is Marla Brooks from Stirring the Cauldron. One of the best gifts that you can give yourself or to someone else on your Christmas list this holiday season is the gift of insight. And if your crystal ball is a bit murky, think about giving them or yourself a personalized yearly Witch's Oracle deck reading. This comprehensive reading gives you a heads up on what the universe has in store for you in the coming year, and the month-to-month guide offers you a chance to make necessary changes if need be before situations get out of hand, or give you a hint of something really good to look forward to. So if you want to treat yourself or someone else, pop over to marlabrooks.com, click on the More tab on the homepage menu, and then click on Readings to find out more. And have a very happy holiday season, and blessed be.
Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And I'm here with Dinah Roseberry, and we're talking about a lot of stuff, UFOs and blogs and all kinds of goodies, and stories. And you had a story, Dinah, that you wanted to read, and is that the blog that you put up there, or is it a different one?
It's a different one. The Santa Baby is the one that is on the blog, that's the Christmas-related one. The one, if you'd like to hear it, that I wrote about would be about the aliens that we saw in our front yard.
Okay.
The ones that I was talking about earlier.
And so it's kind of turning fact into kind of fiction sort of thing, because you already explained it now, so we'll hear it on the fictional side, yeah?
Yeah, yes, and it's very short. It's only 500 words, and
go for it.
It's the kind of thing that I would like to see people send in if they want to have some part of the blog, audio blog that I do. Okay, this is called Casting Down Aliens. It was difficult to sit there without screaming. Not that there was anything horrific about this situation. It was emotional, to be sure, but no one believed me, so what the hell? No one wanted to hear me talk about it or scream about it. I was an outcast, even in my own family. My own child called me a conspiracy theorist. Can you believe that? So I kept it all to myself these days. I knew aliens were real. I knew they followed me around for some reason. And yeah, I could be crazy, probably was crazy, but I don't think so. I heard on TV that you could call aliens down by focusing on a spot in the sky and asking in your mind for a friendly and safe visit. So there I was on my front porch with my husband, daughter, and teenage granddaughter. I was doing it in my head while they were talking about a movie they'd seen where aliens had eaten everyone in a town. Imagine that. I'm the nut, but they love that kind of stuff for entertainment. Anyway, they were talking, and me, I was inviting the aliens in for a safe visit. Wouldn't that show them if E.T. appeared out of nowhere? I smirked, but hid it behind my iced tea. Excuse me a minute, I said without exuberance. Ladies' room. No one even bothered to notice. I shrugged. Once inside, I finished my business and then stopped, tilting my head to each side like a dog, trying to understand. There'd been an odd sound out on the porch. Not talking, not moving around or laughing. Something else. Frowning, I walked slowly to the front door and peeked outside. I sucked in my breath harshly. There was my family, seemingly frozen in space and time. They could move their eyes, but the rest of their bodies were immobile, standing by the steps and watching me in horror. They were terrified, and their eyes were as wide as any I'd ever seen. I know my eyes were terrified, too. They had to be, because this was nuts. Then I looked to either side of the doorway as I slowly opened the screen door. It was them, all right, 2 of them. I thought it might be, but I didn't want to believe it. Short little dudes, gray in color, large eyes. You know the ones. Hey, I said barely above a whisper. I said I wanted a safe and friendly visit. They both nodded. Their voices were in my head now. This is a safe and friendly visit for you. Then they disappeared along with my family in a whoosh. Gone. I fainted, of course. Conspiracy theorist be damned. This was a real abduction. My advice, don't call them down, because if they come, well, it's too late for whatever happens next. Good thing I have MUFON on my speed dial. And MUFON is the Mutual UFO Network, a worldwide UFO organization. The end.
I like it. Yeah. Take it to the next step.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. So
I wrote that because of what we saw out front, and because my daughter and granddaughter thought I was crazy. And the calling down of the aliens is a real thing, and that's what we did up at the Shipper property when we saw the UFOs up there. We called them down for 10 days prior to. So, so all of that was filtered into the story.
Yes, and so if anybody wants to do their blogs, and a lot of people are para people that are listening now, what happened. And because sometimes, like, I see something going on, and then my mind starts going that it starts making more things about what's going to happen there when it really doesn't, or what could happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So for that, anybody that's listening and has some kind of a story to tell, you can tell it, or you could add to it, and that would be really good.
Yeah. Make it fun.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be fun, and it will be.
And but at the same time, that was therapeutic.
Well, sure. And then, with that, it made me laugh because, it could have been a dysfunctional household and you needed to get rid of them anyway, So, yeah, it could be anything. All right, now we're going to get a little bit more serious. We're going to be talking about coping mechanism during the Christmas season or the holiday season because A lot of people don't have it as well as other people, and for a lot of different reasons. Some people just don't have a family. Some people have just maybe lost a loved one or something. And a long time ago, she did a visualization with me to find out who my, I guess it was my animal totem animal was. Yeah. And it's a really, really simple visualization. So she's going to do that for, anybody that needs it. But in the meantime, let's talk a little bit more about coping with this kind of thing when it happens.
Well, it's first off, coping with any kind of loss in any season is difficult, and it's varied for every single person who is going through it. No one has the same way of going through something that is horrendous for them, and trying to cope with it is really an internal thing. I mean, it's good to talk about it. It's good to be involved in groups, especially. I found having a group of like-minded individuals who are going through or who have gone through what I've gone through when I lost my husband to be helpful. But that might not be for everyone. So that's where my visualizations come into play. And I'm not saying here that this will cure that. It will not necessarily do that. But it's just a place to get a little bit of peace. And then that same peace can be held over, and this visualization can be used and expanded upon in other areas of your life throughout the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's important. And, we were talking the other day, there's different ways to grieve, and everybody has a different way. And there's not a right or wrong way with that. Mm-hmm. And some people will not want to try and make things better because they think they have to suffer, So some people say, well, I don't want to do a visualization because, it's just eating me up inside and I just need to deal with it my own way. And that's fine, but everybody needs a happy place, not just when something goes wrong. And, you ask somebody if they have a happy place or not. And some people have it that it's a real place that you can go to. Some people can go to Disneyland. That's their happy place, or, something like that. But also it's kind of neat to create a happy place. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to think about it. Sorry, with this visualization, it will kind of show itself to you, won't it?
Yes, and not only that, when you were saying that some people want to hold on to their grief so that they don't forget their loved one, that was kind of like what you were saying. Yeah. So they don't want to have a visualization. You can still have it and interact with that person in that visualization and not forget and not give it up, kind of thing. So you can make this do whatever you need it to do.
Mm-hmm. And in general, again, it's if we don't, I have a happy place in my mind, from not a visualization, from my imagination. And, when things get bad, you just kind of go there and it kind of relaxes you and nothing is wrong there. Everything is right. And it's comforting. It's like eating comfort food, So anybody that's listening to this visualization, it doesn't have to be a morning visualization. It can just, find your happy place, and it really might surprise you of what you see. Because, I've done it to a couple of people who didn't think it would work at all. And one of them was a psychiatrist, an MD. Right. And he said, I don't think I can, he said, I want to try, he says, I'm open-minded, but he said, I don't think this is going to work, And I was asking him questions as we went along. And, like, where are you? What do you see? Blah, blah, blah. And it was just spewing out of him. I'm here and I'm seeing this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, nah, you couldn't do that, right? But
well, when people say that, this was told to me by a psychiatrist, and I don't know whether it's true or not, but it seems to be true for me, for the people that I've met. And that is, if you are a controlling type person, a type A maybe, it's more difficult to let go and do that and to have one of these. And when people say, I can't do that or I can't meditate, they're too much in control of their thinking to let go. So, I mean, that's the same. You were telling people that I was doing past life regression and that kind of thing. Same thing. This is, you don't have to be hypnotized. We call it visualization. It's really self-hypnosis. It's really, it brings all of these different pieces together. I've been doing this for like 30 years or so, and my happy place, as you're calling it, is so vast. It is so, there are so many pieces to it that it's almost funny, but it's like a whole nother world or a city or something out there where if I feel this need, I go here. If I have that need, I go there. I just want to sit by the ocean. I need to sit by the I-26 ramp where all the tractor trailers are that I'm scared to drive around. So that's in a field that's sitting next to a big highway. I mean, you can make it anything you want. I made a big mistake one time, and that is I was helping someone, and I was taking them to the happy place of the ocean because everybody loves the ocean, right? Well, not so much. She had a terrible fear of the ocean, and I kind of really put her in a bad place. Once I found out about that, I took her to a different place and found out in past life regression that she had died by falling and hitting herself on a rock by a canal, if I recall. This was some years ago. So she had died by water. Yeah. And I took her right to water. So you have to be really careful when you work with people. I work with someone else who didn't get out enough, so I took him outside so he could be with other people and all that. And he called me back about a week later, and he said, could you maybe not make me be with so many people? He goes, I never get any rest. I'm with people all the time, and they're making me crazy. I'd never get any rest. I'm like, holy cow. Because you give them exercises to do, they continue to do it, and it becomes stronger. So, I mean, you have to be careful when you're working with other people, even in a situation like what we're looking at today. The people have to know that they have to make their own place. And I'm going to tell you how to do that.
Yes, you are. So let's do that so we don't run out of time, and then we can talk a little bit afterwards.
And by the way, try to make it only like about in the beginning about no more than 6 minutes or so, because we're not even going to do that long, I don't think, because you need that time. You need to do this every single day or night, same time it doesn't have to be the same time. I do it the same time, but you must do it every day. You must become comfortable with it. Otherwise, it's no help to you. So you want to do it every day. Okay. To tell you what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you first so that you have an idea, and that is we're going to be on a hotel elevator, and we're going down in the elevator. Now, on all the different levels, I have different things that happen. I have an animal level where I go and talk to the animals that have been passed. I have an area where there's the beach. There's a mountainside where UFOs come up over the hill. I mean, it depends on where you want to be. But I start with the elevator, and I go to a place, and whatever happens there happens. And then when you come back, it's best to write it down in the beginning because, boy, you forget fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you want to try?
Yep, let's do it.
Or do you want people to relax, or do you want them to know they're spirit animals? What do you want?
Just take them down the elevator and see what happens when the door opens. Maybe that's the simplest thing, and we've got like 5 minutes to do this, so.
Okay, okay, very good. Okay, so first thing you need to do, take in a breath, hold it, release it, take in another breath, hold, release. Take in another breath, hold, and release. You're standing in front of an elevator in a posh hotel. The button going down is lit, and the doors open in front of you. You step in, turn around, and notice all the different floor keys. You can choose any floor that you like, but we're going down to the ground floor. You're on floor 4. It's going down. Notice the 3 that's lit up. Notice the 2 that is lit up. Notice the 1 that is lit up. And the ground floor. The elevator comes to a stop. The door opens. Someone will be there greeting you at the door. Could be animals, could be people who have passed, could be people in your life. Someone is there to greet you. They invite you out of the elevator and down a pathway. The pathway has flowers on both sides, all different colors: purple, red, blue, orange, pink. They're all in full bloom, even though it is dusk out. You can hear the sound of waves in the distance, and you can hear birds singing also in the distance. You keep walking down the path. After a while, you can choose between a path to the ocean and a path to the mountains. The entity that is with you will help you choose which way. Today, you are choosing the ocean, and you move forward into the sand that is still warm from the day. You can hear the ocean waves slapping against the shore and rushing back out and rushing back in. The light is becoming less apparent, but the air is still warm and breezy. You notice at the edge of the water that there are 2 lounge chairs. You take one, and the entity that has greeted you sits with you. You may have a conversation with this entity about the issue that you would like to discuss. Take time to do that Now, yes and no questions work well. The first answer that comes to your mind is the answer to your question. Look out by the water. And now it's time for you to remember the answer to the question you had. And as the waves rush up, you begin to come back to your normal reality. Counting backwards from 3, at 1, you will be fully cognizant. 3, 2, 1. Sit up tall and think about what you learned. There you go.
Okay, good. Perfect timing, too. And I just want you to know that somebody in the chat room said she was afraid of elevators, so that's not good. So I just said, I said that she could put herself in a room with several closed doors and pick the door, right?
Exactly. Just like, or she could just already be at the ocean. She could already be there.
Yeah.
And that's the important key, that each person's going to have a different take on this because of that kind of thing. That was excellent for her to come forth with that.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to be not excellent because we have to go. Give your website out again for people who want to just look around and everything.
www.roseberrybooks.com/blog, or if you want to browse my website, roseberrybooks.com.
And there's lots of good stuff there that you could like to see anyway.
Yeah, all the books that I wrote.
All of those, yes. There's a ton. Get some time so you can look at everything, because it really is kind of neat. And Kathy says, no, I want to stay at the beach. Okay.
You can.
There you go. So anyway, thank you. I do want you back at some point to talk about the hypnosis, but in the meantime, thank you for being with us.
Mm-hmm.
And for all of those listening in, don't forget that December 23rd, you can celebrate Festivus, so get ready and air those grievances. Then there's a Blessed Yule to do, a Merry Christmas, and a meaningful Kwanzaa, and end up the year with a Happy New Year. So until next time, everybody, blessed be, and merry meet again. Good night.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Please join us again next week at the same time for another great guest and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2024. The Mysterioso March by Kevin MacLeod is licensed through Incompetech.com.